Are you living in the past or embracing the future? Are you learning and growing every single day? Hey, welcome back to Mic'd Up. I'm your host, Mike DiCioccio, and today I'm going to share a story about what sparked my inspiration for this episode. I recently was watching Home Improvement. You guys probably remember the great show from the 90s. It's now on Netflix, so if you guys want to go back and check it out, Home Improvement is now on Netflix. And in this episode, Christopher McDonald had a great cameo. You guys probably best remember him from his classic role as Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. And in this episode of Home Improvement, he plays Tim the Toolman Taylor's best friend from college, his dorm brother. And every time he gets together with Tim, all he talks about are the good old days from college. And he continues to live in the past. Tim now has a family, he has a career, a TV show, and he's a different person from those good old days. And that's a good thing. We shouldn't be living the same year over and over and over again, or the same stage of our lives over and over and over again. And I want to admit, I've fallen into that before. Months go by sometimes and I feel like I'm living the same day, doing the same thing. Yeah, running a business and growing in different ways. But at the same time, it's like, hey, I need to grow in new ways. Maybe get in a routine of reading new books or checking out different podcasts, right? So this message is something that was like a light bulb for me. And I just, when it hit me the other day, I'm like, you know what? This is a great reminder because it's something I already knew, but I wanted to share it with you guys. And so like every great episode of Home Improvement, there's a scene where Tim goes to Wilson, their neighbor, talking through the fence, of course, as you guys may remember. You never really see Wilson's face. He's hiding behind the fence. And Tim asks him for advice because Jill, Tim's wife in the show, doesn't like the guy coming around acting obnoxious with their kids. And Tim is honestly sick of him always reminiscing about the same stuff over and over again. He says to Wilson, man, my buddy, he thinks I'm the same guy I was 15 years ago. And Wilson delivers great advice, per usual. And he says to Tim, well, it sounds like he's spending all the time looking backwards and you're spending all of your time looking forward. So Tim then confronts his buddy and tells him, I'm going to actually spend the night with my family. We're going to have a nice dinner together. We're going to watch a movie together. So, his priorities are different than they were 15 years ago. So his friend finally decides, kind of takes the hint, and he decides to leave and he's going to hang out at a bar with their other college buddies that were getting together. And while he's at the bar, they don't show this, but what do you think? It's kind of implied. What do you think he's going to be talking about the entire night, right? Reminiscing about the past. So this made me think, how have I changed over time and how have my priorities changed over time? And I thought about why I decided to leave my corporate job to start my own business and how I've continued to learn and grow since really making that decision in 2017. And here's what I realized. The reason I decided to leave corporate was because I was already outgrowing it, right? The mindset and mentality there, I just felt like I was over it. I was kind of wanting to graduate out of that. And I was reading and studying a lot of great entrepreneurs at the time who have done it, been there, done that, and have a successful story. They made that leap. And their message over and over again was, if I can do it, so can you. And I heard that. If you can do it, or if I can do it, so can you. And I'm just thinking, I can do it, and I'm going to do it. And I was reading Think and Grow Rich. You guys probably have heard of that book over and over again on the show. Think and Grow Rich is by Napoleon Hill. Highly recommend it if you haven't read that yet. It's like the Bible of business books. And I actually read it a few times and highlighted it and dog-eared it, And have I applied every lesson today that's in that book? No. But I was, what it did do is it altered my thinking and my priorities have been reshaped from that book. And I go back to it as a reference, kind of like the Bible, like I'm talking about. And so the kind of people today that I enjoy spending time with is totally different than 20 years ago. And I'll still, when my friends from out of town come in, I'll get together with them. Or if I'm back home in Buffalo, if they're in town, we'll get together. And I still have friends from 20 years ago and we're still friends. but we're not having those same exact conversations. Our lives are different. We're talking about our kids or what we're doing in life and different trips we've been on or whatever it might look like. It's different. We've grown, we've shaped. And so what shaped me was the information I was putting into my mind. I call that the think, right? My think was different. It was being reshaped. And so one of the main lessons I learned was to take action. It's not always going to be fully mapped out for you. You're not always going to understand, the thing that you're going to, like, if you're going to start a business, you don't know what it looks like. If you're going to create a product, the final product, the thing, you don't know what it's going to look like. You have to get started, right? And so what shaped me was the information I was putting into my mind. My think, it was different. I was changing it, right? And one of the main lessons I learned was to take action. It's not always going to be fully mapped out for you. You're not always going to understand what the thing is going to look like until you get started, right? You're not going to know the final product or the service, what it's actually going to look like. But getting started and taking action is going to allow it to have legs and breadth. And then that too, you can learn and shape and change over time. So part of this, is also about surrounding myself with positive-minded people and better role models over time as well. You want to get around people who inspire you and who are inspired by you, who like hanging out with you. You can feel their presence in a good way. So I've done this over time through business networking, in personal and virtual, and then in a massive way with meeting over 200 entrepreneurs on this podcast who are living their best life. And I'm learning from them. I'm kind of like picking away at their story or their backstory or really diving deep, kind of getting into their brain, into their think, what makes them who they are today. And then they're sharing their stories of learning and growing and changing over time. And I'm learning through them, right? So my guests have been a huge influence on me. And many of them, we keep in touch throughout the year, right? They'll reach out to me. I'll reach out to them for support. We check in, especially during the holidays. If anyone's in town, they usually check in with me like, hey, I'm going to be in Philly. Let's get together. If it's someone in Buffalo, when I go back to visit family, I'll touch base with people, see who I can connect with while I'm in town. And sometimes, they're initiating it, and sometimes it's me initiating it. So a huge way to improve your think and continue to grow is to spend more time around people who are doing the same thing, right? And in some cases, they are a bit further ahead than you are and in their journey. And so that's a great thing because now, you can follow what other positive people are doing. They're going to lift you up. You lift them up. It's a together. It's not one or the other, or nobody's keeping score, right? So if someone in the group is a bit further ahead in business or personal development, other members are going to learn from them. And if somebody's further behind, fine. Then the rest of the group is going to help and lift that person up, right? So it's always about the group. The high school mentality is that they don't want to see that one friend rise up. So there's always that jealousy factor. There's ego involved, right? That's small think. That's a loser mentality. So if Tim in this example is winning, then I am losing. And that's wrong, right? That's the furthest thing from the truth. If Tim is winning, then great. That's proof that I can win too. Let's go, right? That's the idea. Another element that was sparked from this episode is the idea of not letting my past have a hold on me anymore. And for me, that means not letting my mistakes or lowest moments define me. And I am far from perfect, and I've made mistakes sometimes over and over in the past, and they've impacted my confidence. They have actually altered my happiness and self-worth. And in this recording right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm going to take this opportunity to share that those things no longer have weight over me. They no longer define me. And you know what? They never did. Okay? Your lowest moments don't define you. Your true heart, your true meaning, your true passion, who you are as a person, your desires, what you really want to do on this planet, that's what matters, not a mistake you've made in the past. I'm moving on, and I'm welcoming you to move on as well. And I have been moving on. I've been learning and growing since 2017 when I was going through my divorce. And even before the paperwork was signed, I already was making changes in my life for the better, but I did hit some really low moments. I can accept that many of my failures that I had in the beginning of starting my business, I was learning, I was figuring it out. I was trying to figure it out as I was going, of course. What hurts the most is that it negatively impacted my family. I was going through some really tough times, including, raising my daughter as I was trying to figure things out in business. My family, they rallied together and really helped me so I wasn't literally like living in my car. So times were rough. I'm going to admit that. And my family helped me get through it. So as I kept moving forward at the time, I was reading, I was learning, I was listening to podcasts, I was YouTubing my way through new ideas and new concepts and new strategies. And a few months ago, I actually moved from my hometown of Buffalo, New York to the suburbs of Philly to be closer to my 10-year-old daughter who lives the majority of the time with her mother. And she moved out here a couple years ago. I decided it was best to move out here, and it was actually growth for me personally, and it took a lot of growth for me professionally, is I needed to be able to cover the costs, the extra expenses that it takes to live out here. And so what I got in return is more time freedom with my daughter. We have a dinner date every Tuesday night, and we get our weekends together as well. And so if I worked in corporate, the odds of me never working on a Saturday or Sunday are super low. So the chances of me being able to pick her up from school every Tuesday or the Fridays that I have her on the weekends at 3:30 is really low if I was working a corporate job. But these are my priorities, and I've made them my priorities, and I kept them as my priorities. And having my own schedule that I get to create and customize allows me to do that. That's why I made one of the biggest reasons I made this decision. And I've grown after the last few years to be able to make these priorities a reality. And you can too. And it wasn't without tremendous support from my family and my team at Social Chameleon, a few close friends as well, and my network, of course, that allowed me to really make this happen. So to get back to the original message of this episode, if you aren't happy with where you're at right now in life, you need to stop living the same day over and over, the same week, the same year, and if your environment is hindering you, if at all possible, change it. Get around people who inspire you. Listen to inspiring podcasts. Many of them are free. YouTube videos, most of them are free, obviously, right? Your mentors are likely giving free advice. And if they've lived it, chances are they want to help lift you up too. They want you to live it too. Most of the great mentors that I've ever had, they get more out of helping me get to where I want to go than they even feel about themselves getting to that next level. People like to help you rise up as well. So read those books. This is something that I love to do, and I've gotten away from it recently myself. I'm adding it back into my daily routine. After I finish this recording, I'm actually going to read a chapter in my next book. So make time for our daily tasks, right? Those non-negotiables. We need to make what's important to us a daily non-negotiable. If it's going to help you grow into the person that you want to become, then it literally is a non-negotiable, okay? Another area that I decided to embrace and learn was AI. I literally use it every single day, and it's allowing me to work faster, more efficient, and it's actually helping me with ideas. It'll give me the original concept or idea, and then I can take it and run with it, right? And so cleaning up my writing, the AI has been helping me like crazy. What would usually take me like 30 minutes to 60 minutes is now taking me like 30 to 60 seconds. It's incredible. So embracing the future and new concepts is super important. Dive in, learn how it works, and learn how it can work for you as well. Ask yourself right now, how are you different from yourself 5 years ago? How have you improved? How do you now think differently? And who do you spend your time with? What podcasts do you listen to? Are your music tastes different? Are you eating healthier? Maybe you quit smoking. There's so many ways that we can change over time. So never stop learning and growing. That's my reflection for this week. It's been a while since I recorded a solo episode. I love doing the show, and I really love learning from my guests when I get to interview them. I also really enjoy talking with you guys one-on-one like this. So this is something I will be more intentional about this year. I have a few planned recordings with my co-host. You guys may know Dave Ragosa. He hasn't been able to be on a lot of our recent episodes, but Dave and I have some scheduled recordings coming up he's going to be back on the show and be more of a frequent co-host in 2025. We're going to record a couple episodes here, and what we're going to do, our game plan for these, is to dissect business concepts that I'll be learning from him and his business success, and then I'll come and prepare some insights as well. And I just feel it's going to be a great, it's great content for the show, for this podcast in particular, for a lot of entrepreneurs, startups, solopreneurs. This is going to be something that you guys can look forward to. So just a reminder, thank you guys so much for tuning in, especially for those that are still hanging out here all the way at the end. And as always, if you've enjoyed the episode and enjoy Mic'd Up, give me some love with a like or a sub on YouTube. You guys can also review the show on Apple and Spotify. And you know what? That is the best feeling when I see a new review pop up and I come, I go check it out. And it reminds me that just one person, even if it's just one person every episode, is inspired by my message on the show. It's worth it to me. It is always worth it. And you know what to do, guys. I say it every episode, say it every week. Thank you again for tuning in. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful. And I'm so grateful for you guys tuning in. Cheers.